22nd. The first order of business would be the approval of minutes from August 8th.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Monica, second by Mr. King. All those in favor, I'll have to take roll. There's Mr. Walker. There's Mr. Walker. Good evening. Okay, under the roll, Mr. Walker. Unmuted.
Here.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm here.
No, we voted on the minutes. We had a motion and a second on the minutes. Your vote for that?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. St. John?
Aye.
Mr. Bates?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Probst?
Aye.
Ms. Gardner?
Aye.
Monica?
Aye.
And I myself is an aye. Motion carries. All right. Second order, any special requests or continuances? Seeing none. Old business. PC 2022-060 Sage Briar zone map change. Obviously, we have a lot of people this evening. There's two zone map changes for this evening. They both are public hearings. It would be 15 minutes for the petitioner, 15 for the remonstrator, 5-minute rebuttal for each. So please be respectful of your neighbor's time and try not to repeat a testimony given by the previous either petitioner or remonstrator, so that we can be most efficient with the time we have. And so that I would suggest that if you have a spokesperson for the remonstrators, I know for the petitioner we probably do. So with that, on this petition 2022-060, all those that are going to speak for or against this petition need to be sworn in, including those online. Please stand.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you swear under penalties for perjury the testimony you're about to give is true to the best of your knowledge?
Is there anybody online for this petition? Okay. State your name and address for the record. You have the floor.
For the record, Rex Ramage, Pulte Homes, 11590 North Meridian Street. We're here this evening to talk about Sage Briar by Del Webb. Okay, so what is Del Webb? Del Webb originated in 1955 and is the premier age-restricted lifestyle brand. Some folks might be familiar with the 7 cities across the country, and then of course we have Del Webb's in a lot of finding communities in California, Arizona, Florida. And then we actually have 3 Del Webb communities in Indiana today. That would be Britton Falls and Fishers. That was the first one. Vandalia and Plainfield. And then our newest Del Webb in Kimwick in Westfield. And then we'd love to bring Del Webb to the city. So one of the things that's most unique about Del Webb is that it is truly age restricted. Someone buying a home has to be 55 or older, and their spouse could be slightly below that, but 80% of the residents of Del Webb have to be 55. And one of the things that is specifically in the code is that it's the HOVA, Housing for Older Persons Act, which is a subset of the Federal Fair Housing Act, which is why we can age restrict the residents within Del Webb, and that is explicitly stated in the covenants and restrictions. And possibly the second most unique thing about Del Webb is just how highly amenitized it truly is. It is truly resort-like. And this project will have closer to $12 million in common areas and amenities. And we'll get to that here in just a minute. So what are the benefits of Del Webb? We can absolutely guarantee that there will be no school children living within the community. The average household size is about 1.7 people. Average age is about 64.8. So these are truly active adults. This is not a retirement community of any kind. These people are active, like to get out, they like trails, they like going to the clubhouse, and again, it's things that we'll see here in just a few minutes. 50% of Del Webb's volunteer at least 10 hours a week in the community. Where they go? They're going to tutor kids in the schools, they're ticket takers at sporting events, and just being ingrained within the fabric of the community. 40% work part-time, so the other ones don't have jobs. They're no longer working, I should say. So one of the other key questions that comes up is, well, gosh, this is going to generate a lot of traffic. In reality, it does not. The reason being is that you have a lot of people that are non-peak travelers. So they're not fighting people in the rush hour in the morning and then also coming back home. So they're off-peak trips. And then we have a traffic engineer tonight if there's any questions specifically related to that. And again, they're off-peak supporters of restaurants, grocery stores, golf courses, local businesses. And then another misconception is that, hey, these people are really old and they're going to demand a lot from our city services. That also is not as true. So there are less demand for fire, police, EMS runs simply because these people are active, they are healthy, and they're moving about. So why do we want to bring Del Webb to Greenwood? We found a parcel that's an ideal location. We're going to attract from all the neighboring communities, all the neighboring areas, and we bring those people to the city of Greenwood. In addition to providing this type of community, which we do not believe exists within the county, but also the city of Greenwood, allowing people who live here, have aged here, to have that next lifestyle choice to buy a home in this type of community. Healthcare is obviously important. We have a lot of healthcare also that we're close by. The city of Greenwood has been doing amazing things. And then, of course, the expansion of utilities and infrastructure, a lot of which is coming from either Main Street or Graham Road, bringing it out to this part of the city. Okay, so where are we? We see the I-65 road corridor. We see a lot of the key spots, a lot of the places that people would like to go. We are east of 65. We are south of County Line Road, north of Main Street, east of 5 Points. You see that on the right-hand side of the screen. Some of you may remember we've been in front of you twice before within the last year, and that was twice for 2 petitions related to annexation. So last fall and winter, we actually helped annex 394 acres into the city of Greenwood for development purposes. Now, the project that we're going to be talking about here tonight is 186 acres, and it's highlighted in the blue hatched portion right there. So here's the site plan. Again, east of 5 Points Road, south of County Line, north of Main Street. We have about 519 lots shown on this plan. We have we have an area dedicated for an amenity center and a clubhouse. We'll show you that here in the next couple of slides. You see a lot of the red line work. That's all the trails. These people, again, are active, like moving about. And then we'll get into some of the public open spaces here. So if you're coming to Del Webb, what are you going to see? You're going to see a berm with landscaping and, quite frankly,
am I with my wife? No, I'm not with my wife. She is.
You went to Oregon?
No, she's out walking. I'm in a hotel room watching a planning commission meeting in Greenwood, Indiana.
IT, will you please mute? Sorry about that.
So illustratively, if you're looking eastbound from 5 Points Road, this is what you see. So how do I know when I get there? There's going to be a very prominent entry monument to Del Webb. Again, this is a destination for people to go. Now, this is illustrative. This is an example of our Westfield Del Webb. You'll notice that there's a horseshoe in the top left corner. There's the actual horse head. All these communities are branded with something. This one was equestrian community. So we'll pick a brand for this one that stands within the community. And then that will come, you'll see that pop up from top to bottom across all the sign. Now, again, how do I know I'm there? What do I see when I come in the community? You're gonna see a heavily landscaped boulevard, landscaping on both sides, and just kind of that lush green vegetation that you're gonna see. What is it gonna take you to? It's gonna take you to a clubhouse. Now, ours is gonna be about 10,000 square feet. This is an illustrative image again of the clubhouse in Westfield. It will have a design theme, and that will be carried across all elements of the project. Within the clubhouse, you're gonna have things like potentially golf simulator, arts and crafts rooms, multi-purpose rooms. This truly is the center point of the community. It's gonna be the beehive, so to speak. All roads lead to the clubhouse, and all trails lead to the clubhouse. That's where we really want people to be in there. Interior shot of the clubhouse, what are you gonna see? It's the quality of the fit and finish that we're gonna have here. And again, the brand demands it, and the residents demand it, and everyone wants it to be, very high scale, high end. So just kind of an example of what you can see there. So again, what types of amenities outside of this clubhouse and outside of these trails? Well, you're gonna have a pool, you're gonna have bocce ball, you're gonna have tennis, and you're gonna have 6 to 8 courts of pickleball, the fastest growing sport. These people will be out here all day, and they love it. It's a way to connect with their neighbors, connect with their friends, and a way to socialize. So, not necessarily at the clubhouse or the amenity area, we do intentionally sprinkle pocket parks and public spaces throughout the community as you see here. So what do those spaces entail? Some of them are simply open space. Some of them are going to be dog parks. Some of them could be yoga, and things of that nature. So it truly is activating the entire project, making sure that there is a destination for somewhere to go within the entire project. And across the board, all the common area, all these pocket parks, the clubhouse, all the amenities and so on. Again, we're going to have $12 billion of investment from that perspective. So certainly more than we typically see across the traditional city. One of the things that's unique about this design and why we designed it this way is that there are no lots that share a rear property line with the neighbor behind them. There's going to be common area between the back of the lot and the lot line. Now that's intentional. These folks like privacy as much as they like to socialize. And so we wanted to create that sense of this is my lot, this is common area, it's beneficial to the community, and then adjacent. You can see that here kind of at the top left and much at the top center of the screen. Landscaped common areas between the backs of the homes. Now, where am I going to live? What's it going to look like? So there's going to be 2 home series within the Del Webb community, one of which is going to be the Monterey series. Now, this home here that you see with these examples of homes, they're about 34 feet wide, 2 to 3 bedrooms. You see the square footage and some of the features there. Now, I think the percentage is 40% of Del Webb are widowed or divorced or single. So there's going to need to be an option for people that simply don't want enough space because maybe they're snowbirds and they have another house somewhere else, or they simply just don't need the square footage, but they want to have the lifestyle that comes along with the Del Webb. Some examples of the interiors and finishes there. You're going to have upgraded kitchens, cabinets, countertops, and master bathrooms. These people entertain, they want to have nice, spacious features available to them and their guests. Sonoma series, that's the next level series there. This house is about 40 feet wide. Homes ranging from 2,000 to just shy of 3,000 square feet. This is going to be a more modest house for that Del Webb buyer. It certainly does not lack quality of the kind as you'll see here in the images. You'll have dens or studies. You'll have nice entryways, masters, and of course, spaces for seating and entertainment. So one of the things that has come up, even dating back to our annexation days, there's a property to the east owned by Dr. Henderson. Dr. Henderson, I believe, is here tonight. Dr. Henderson has a private airstrip on his property. So what we tried to do is we tried to show you where that airstrip would be within our project. And I can scale back if you need to zoom out to see the full look of it. But we understand that there's a private airstrip there. We're not trying to deter or take anything away from that private property owner. In addition to acknowledging that it's there, we wanted to put something in writing in the PUD. So we said that there's a minimum of 250 feet from the property line to the nearest home. Further analysis shows that it's about 300 feet from the property line to the rear setback line on the adjacent lot from the bike path. So this is kind of what you can see. Now, in doing a little bit of research, we talked to the FAA, we talked to INDOT Aviation, and then we talked to a local attorney. All of them said that the FAA does not typically govern private airstrips unless there is what they call a SIAP, or a Special Instrument Approach feature, none of which are identified here. So again, talked to a gentleman at INDOT Aviation. He advised the same thing, and he actually advised that he shared the same information with me that he did with Dr. Henderson a few weeks prior to my call. And then lastly, legal counsel in Indianapolis has come to the same. So again, we're not trying to deter or take anything away from Dr. Henderson and his ethics there, but certainly wanted to acknowledge that. So where we are, we were on the agenda a couple weeks ago, I'll continue to tonight. We want to go through the full public hearing process, hear everyone out. Given the amount of people that are here, whether they're here for our project or the other one, I'm sure those comments, some of those comments may apply. So we want to allow a little bit of time to follow up with those public comments, follow up with a few items with staff and the staff report, and then potentially be back here in September, and then move on to the city council. The development process would be, we would go through the rest of the government approvals this winter and fall, planning and construction plans. We would break ground early next spring, take advantage of the full 2023 construction season, and then you see a model home going up towards the end of 2020. So with that, I will stop. If there's any questions of me right now, happy to answer those.
We'll hold all questions for the end. So, all right, anybody else to speak for this? All right, seeing none. For this?
Yes.
Okay. Get about a minute.
My name is Jackie Tinnerman Briggs. I live at 1478 Eagle Trace Drive in Greenwood. My family owns the 186-acre parcel. We have been members of the South Side and Greenwood community for most of my life. I grew up on the South Side. Both of my children grew up in the Greenwood area. Living in this area has given me ample opportunity to engage in community organizations, investing time and effort towards supporting the goodness of our local area. I've been a Girl Scout leader, teen mom, member in Habitat for Humanity, Johnson County Women's Guild, and just this past weekend, our Sertoma Club of Greenwood hosted our annual fundraiser at Craig Park, which is called Red Fest. I mention these briefly only to communicate that I, like many of us, care very much about our community and devote time to support its goodness. For over 17 years, I have studied this market. My profession is managing broker in commercial real estate. My education is a bachelor's degree from Purdue University. Not to worry, my daughter graduated from IU. And I have studied this market via professional research, Aspire Johnson County Economic Development and Chamber Alliance involvement. I'm a member of the Business Advisory Council, Leadership Johnson County, gaining information from and working with the city of Greenwood, talking with folks who live around here through local and philanthropic organizations, listening to and working with landowners. The maintenance and sustainability of any community will require growth. The goal is responsible growth. Growth that meets the significant needs of our community in order that our Greenwood maintains healthy sustainability for current and future citizens. All studies, research, and information particular to this area speaks overwhelmingly to our need for an active adult community. At present, we have very little to offer. This means seniors need to look to other areas for an active adult community. We need to give seniors good opportunities to stay right here in our community, to live close to their children and grandchildren. So grandma and grandpa don't have to relocate. So mom, dad, and the kids don't have to relocate so that they can live closer to the grandparents. Also to attract new families to select Greenwood so that all three generations can live in very nice communities and in close proximity. We want to encourage our seniors to remain in our area, dedicating their significant volunteer efforts right here in our community, in our libraries and schools, contribute to our tax base, benefit the community with their law-abiding behavior, avoid during rush hour because they can, which we all would if we could, and contribute to our local economy. The need for active adult housing is acknowledged. It's literally a screaming need. Del Webb communities are top tier. High quality, attractive homes they offer. Exceptional interior and exterior apartments. Outstanding amenities that you've seen. I don't believe there is another residential community in the area with this level of amenity offerings. Seniors don't want to trim their hedges anymore. They want to actively engage in their community. They've earned it. Greenwood is top tier. We deserve a Pulte Del Webb community. Pulte Del Webb has worked diligently and for years to earn our attention. Especially considering my profession, our family has concentrated on research, reputation, and reliability when pondering this opportunity. The way this land is developed is extremely important to us. There have been many other proposals presented to our family over the years, several of them very attractive. We held tight, we held out, and we waited for the best fit. We believe this is the best fit.
Okay, we'll move on to the remonstrators. Those that are going to speak for the remonstrators, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Gary Miller. I live at 3033 East Main Street, Greenwood. I'm here representing the East of 65 Property Owners Association. It's a loosely knit group of neighbors that have been somewhat dormant for the last, I guess, almost 20 years. And with these development proposals, it's come back to life. First off, we're not anti-development. We know that there's a lot of land east of 5 Points Road. There's a lot of land yet to be developed west of 5 Points. So we think the most important thing, though, is to do the development right. In October of 2020, Greenwood passed its present zoning ordinance. Residential medium is the criteria for which basically this development should be judged. Residential medium requires 7,700 square foot lots, 55-foot width of lots, 10-foot per side yards. This development basically fails on all those criteria. They came in, the developer brought this in as a planned unit development. The zoning statute basically says, and I'll quote, planned unit developments are not to be used to circumvent the standards of this zoning code. We ask if that isn't what is being done here. We agree. The development has nice landscaping. The houses are nice, considering the fact that half of the front exterior is a garage door. But the designers with the other half have done fairly well. I went out to Plainfield and looked at that development. I went to Westfield and looked at that one. My wife's comment concerning it was the houses are nice. The development is jammed and crammed. And that is true. You'll notice there were no street pictures showing houses next to each other. The houses have 10-foot, 12-foot side between the houses, as opposed to the 10-foot side yard requiring 20 foot between the houses. We understand development is coming. This is the first one, east of 5 Points Road. Eventually, probably long after I'm gone, Greenwood will extend to Franklin Road. So the question is, what pattern do we want to set for future development? And we do not think that this is the correct pattern because quite honestly, the lots are too small, the houses are too close and too jammed. And the next person that comes in will say the 46-foot lots were approved for this development, I want them for mine. We don't think that's basically the way that it should be done. We appreciate your attention. Thank you very much.
Try to be as brief as I can here.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is John R. Hakes. I'm here representing Hakes Family Farm LLC, 3981 East Matthews Road, Greenwood, Indiana. All right. I'm not here to remonstrate or to speak in favor. I'm here because of the issue that we have in this particular area, this community, which is drainage. And I draw your attention to these 4 40-acre farms. They're referred to, at least when I was a young fellow, they were referred to as long 40s. This land out here is part of the original land grants, and they that's where the 40 acres of mule came from. But these are old farms, and they were subsistence farms. 3 of them are owned all or in part by Hakes Family LLC, which was the Hakes Family Trust when my parents were living. This is what we call the home place, or the center 40. This is the north 40. This is the 40 acres owned by Dr. Robinson, and this is what we call the south 40. And outlined in red here is the proposed construction site for Pulte Group. And we're very concerned about the drainage because of the fact that we've already had to pay out of our own pockets for damage caused by drainage problems in this area. Here you can see this is Dr. Robinson's property. This is what we call the North 40, and you can see the greenway here. This is 2006. You can see the greenway is functioning properly, going down across what at that time was Copeland property. I think this is now Pulte property, and going into what's called Grubbs Ditch. I understand now it has a different name, County Ditch, something or other, but it's referred to as Grubbs Ditch. And this was built sometime, probably after World War I or before World War II. Might have been built during the Depression as a works project. I'm not sure, but this farmland here has this drainage system, and there's a drainage tile that runs actually under here, through here, and across to the old middle 40, which is the old home place. And I'm very familiar with all of this territory, having grown up here. took a 26-year hiatus in the active military, so I'm back home now. We're trying to manage this property, and we're trying to farm it, pay the taxes, and to manage and keep the upkeep on the farms as long as practical. That's all we're trying to do. So the drainage is the issue. And, there's two types of drainage systems. One is for your urban areas and for housing additions and housing areas, where you have rooftops, streets, lawns, common areas that do not absorb water, they simply shed it. The other type of drainage system are these agricultural drainage systems, which includes all these field tile systems, not just in our 40-acre plots, but in all the land around. And the Grubbs Ditch is the main drainage ditch for that. And that goes east, right through Johnson County and on over to Leatherwood Creek, eventually down into Blue River. And I can tell you right now that our concern with this is this property first started seeing we first started noticing problems about 2012, 2014. We had the county come out and look at it, and they said, yeah, there's problems here. And that was due to runoff. And we traced that back, and we could see that the runoff was coming from disturbance further to the north and northwest, which is up in this is northern Johnson County. We can see that the disturbance was caused by building in Marion County and housing additions up there that were not done properly, and the drainage from them was dumped directly into the Grubbs Ditch up in the 5 Points area. By 2015, it was evident we were going to have to do something, and we applied to the county and the USDA for assistance in getting this drainage system repaired. Due to lack of funds, that didn't happen. And by 2017, that's by 2017, see the disturbance in this area here, which is runoff from Marion County and further up on 5 Points Road, coming down across 5 Points, coming across the field, and not that belongs to Pulte now, and entering this field on the North 40 here. You can see it's coming parallel going to the greenway here. And what's been happening is the overloading of Grubbs Ditch has caused back pressure into that drain top, and it creates blowouts. That water pressure has got to go somewhere. So the long and the short of it is, if the drainage is not handled properly, we're going to have issues. If the plan is to simply take the runoff and put it into Grubbs Ditch, that won't work. And there'll be a lot of attendant problems with that. We want to avoid that. We'd like to work with Bolte, we'd like to work with Johnson County Drainage Authority, we'd like to work with the city of Greenwood, to make sure it gets done right the first time. That way we'll all be winners. That's about all I got to say, but we're very concerned about it because we're already facing problems from an overloaded drainage ditch. So if we get it done right the first time, we'll all be fine. Thank you.
My name is John Peterson. I live at 3195 East Rock Lane Road. We're the first house where Main Street turns into Rock Lane Road. And I am a remonstrator. I don't know how much time I have left, but
About 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay. I appreciate the planners over here rejecting their proposal last week. And according to the Daily Journal on Saturday, the developer changed their proposal late on Friday afternoon. This is Monday, so none of the residents probably knew it unless they read about it, but they originally proposed 556 homes. And the planners said, no, you can't have more than 19 or 519 and we will approve your proposal. Well, 519 is still way too many. Having homes that close together, 46-foot lot is about, from where I walked on the back row to up here, that's 46 feet. And half the lots are gonna be 46 feet wide, half 52 feet wide. With side yards, the houses will be 10 to 12 feet apart. I've been to a Del Webb community. My wife Sam lived in one in Henderson, Nevada. And I asked the resident one time, what's the, how do you like it? And they said, well, it's not too bad, except that we have to keep all our blinds and our window shades closed because you can look right into the next person's house 10 feet away. So what I would like to see, and I think everyone here would like to see, a quality development, something that fits into with the community. How many here are opposed to the proposal the way that it's currently written? Raise your hand. Thank you. And I drove by out there. I'm a resident, close by resident. I drove by out there today. I mean, it is all farm fields out there. There are no services. I timed it on my car. It's 3 miles to the nearest store, to the nearest filling station, to the nearest pharmacy, to the nearest restaurant. When I was at the Del Webb community in Henderson, there was an on-site CVS. There's nothing out there. This is like throwing an addition of that magnitude out in the middle of farmland. It's ridiculous. So I appreciate the fact that the planners are looking at this, and that was a good start. However, the 4 or 5 acres that you freed up by reducing the number of homes, we don't know what they're going to do with it. I would hope that they're going to make wider lots and put the houses farther apart. But since it was such a late change, no one knows. So maybe reduce another 100 houses, maybe put in a 20-acre park. Don't try to squeeze in as many homes in an area as you can. The seniors don't want it. They don't want to be crowded. Thank you very much.
We're over in time.
If I could just have a minute or two, I represent Dr. Robinson.
Okay,
so
well, I
have
was gonna say, we let the others go over about 2.5 minutes, so you got about 2.5 minutes.
Great, thank you. I'll be brief. We obviously echo Ray Vasili, 13 North State Street, Greenfield. On behalf of Dr. Robert Robertson, he's at 904 North Matthews. So when you look at the map that you have up there, it is the parcel down on the east side there. It's the one with the runway. It is an FAA approved airstrip. It's been there for a long time. I understand time's short. Dr. Robinson's here. I was going to talk a little bit about the history of things. I'll summarize by saying this is more than a hobby. It's something that he and his family, his father, have done for many years for charitable uses, other good purposes that are beyond just the ordinary sort of sightseeing flights. I should probably start by thanking Pulte for the consideration of the setback. We would ask that as a condition that if this board is inclined to approve the request, that be made a commitment and approval that the minimum 250-foot setback be in place. It shows on plans, at least, it would appear to be an uninterrupted tree line for obvious reasons in terms of taking off and landing. Certainly, Dr. Robinson supports having some earth berms, shrubs, and things like that. But we would request a commitment that there not be tall trees placed in that area. As you can see, it's a little difficult there, but you can see where the runway is at the northern end of his property, and it does run pretty close to that western boundary. And so obviously not having trees there would be helpful. We would also request as part of the covenants for the property that those property owners that are going to be in that area to the eastern edge of the property, that there be some sort of language, and we're happy to work with Pulte on that issue, of a covenant not to sue for noise and the flight patterns over those properties. I will tell you that it's not an everyday or even an every week occurrence that there's flights coming in and out of there. It's only Dr. Robinson that does it. Certainly in the winter, there's much less use of it during that time. So we're not talking about a dense use. We're not talking about anything commercial. But he is concerned that even with that 250-foot setback, if the wrong neighbors in that property or properties that are right there, that somebody files a nuisance claim against them or something. So we would request that as long as he doesn't increase the use of that property as an airfield for his own private use, that there be a covenant that any properties that are sold there not to sue for something like that. Otherwise, Dr. Robinson shares the concerns, particularly at the drainage as you saw. It directly impacts his property as well. He was the property that was in between the three that were discussed as being affected. So those are his concerns, and we appreciate your time and attention to them.
All right, we're going to go back to, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a chance. You'll have a chance in the 5-minute rebuttal. So you have plenty of time to do it there. That'd be fine. All right, so 5-minute rebuttal by the petitioner.
Good evening, members of the Greenwood Plan Commission. For the record, David M. Compton, Vice President, Land Acquisition, Pulte Homes of Indiana. I'm handling the rebuttal tonight. I've been with Pulte 16 plus years, and I'm responsible for bringing the other 3 Del Webbs to Indianapolis from acquisition through entitlement. So I've studied Del Webb for over 20 years and was part of the original team to bring it to Indianapolis. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'll try to be brief and address the questions brought up by many of the people who spoke. Mr. Miller and Mr. Peterson are correct. Del Webb is different. It's a lifestyle choice. It's a highly amenitized community focused on 55 and better, where 80% of the residents have to be 55 years or older. The open space that you saw within the Del Webb community is 34%. So basically 60 plus acres of this community will be in open space. We're saving trees, creating pocket parks, creating lifestyle trails, and a clubhouse in excess of 10,000 square feet. Our buyers have entered a life stage where they don't want big lots anymore. They're making an active choice. I want a smaller lot. I want it fully maintained. I want to enjoy one of 78 different clubs. that are offered within Del Webb. It's absolutely a lifestyle choice. Yet we're still working hard with staff. We have all the homes that are being featured, have hardy plank or cement board siding, brick fronts on part of them, 2-car attached garages. Rex was correct. 40% of our buyers are single or divorced. They don't want a big home, but they want the lifestyle. That's why they want a smaller home. Steve Fairbach is here with us tonight with A&F Engineering. He did a traffic study. Del Webb creates 40% less trips than a traditional single-family community. There's only 1.7 people per home. This isn't an Indiana average. This is a national average. Additionally, I want to talk briefly about drainage. We concur with Mr. Hakes, and we'll work very hard with him and other neighbors. We've been studying the drainage on this site for a year and a half. The lakes that you see within the site capture not only our water, but capture water that's coming off of surrounding properties. That's a state law, that's a Johnson County requirement, and that's also a City of Greenwood requirement. We'll continue to work with the Johnson County engineer, neighbors, and staff to make sure that we meet or exceed all the drainage requirements. At the end of the day, we do discharge to the north through a drainage easement through the Copeland property. This is not Henderson, Texas. This is Indianapolis, Indiana, Greenwood. Fishers, and that was my first Del Webb development, was actually further out from city services than this Del Webb that we're proposing today. We also will commit to continue to work with Dr. Robinson and his attorney. Mr. Tim Oakes of Vice Miller is here today. We have no problem and will commit to adding a disclosure to our HOA documents to talk about the airport. Additionally, we do a sales disclosure when we sell houses. The first time, in addition to the permanent record, we'll also identify it. In summary, we believe that Del Webb is different. Yes, it is. And we're very excited to have the opportunity to be here before you tonight and work with you and the community to bring what we believe is an exciting $200 million community investment in Greenwood and to jumpstart the east side of the city. Thanks very much. And Rex and I are available for questions. Thank you.
Anybody else on the petition side? All right, demonstrators, you have a 5-minute rebuttal, Mr. Robinson.
Okay, well, thanks for being willing to work with me here. I want to lifelong passion as tennis courts, by the way. Hey, listen, I'm not just another old man against change. I don't think that's what this is all about here. I have legitimate concerns. I've seen the massive flooding, that the Higgs have talked about, and turn around your car and go the other way. So that needs to be. I also notice that the retention ponds are right on the border, which scares me a little bit. So I share that concern. I have had a FAA approved field for 45 years. Number 8IN2. That's a FAA number. My family is I have a World War II airplane that has history and tradition. My dad was a World War II flight instructor. My brother's a national aerobatic champion. They won't be in aerobatics. They won't be in aerobatics. Property. I've donated for charity many year after year. Leadership Johnson County Education Foundation, American Country Society, and on one incident there, I was used as an alternative field when there was an engine failure over Whiteland, and couldn't make it back to Greenwood. And I'm glad that you're working with me. When I saw the trees that you were planning to plant, like 1 foot from the end of my runway, I was sort of disappointed. I mean, but seriously, my dad cut those trees down, probably a width from here to down there is the width of my runway, and one fell on it. We ended up at St. Francis Hospital. It was dedicated to being able to fly off my property. Very good. Let's get a plan for everybody. We can have that can happen. We have have some information at the 20-to-1 ratio. If you have a 10-foot high house, it's 200 feet, there's some general FAA rules there that we can sit down and agree on, so there's no questions, on a delay basis. So, at any rate, let's get some exact guidelines, which I think you've already looked into, and so have I. And let's get a plan for all, because I really like to keep doing what I've done. I feel like I've been a plus for the neighborhood. I've never had one complaint, and it's a novelty. I do not fly every day, and maybe a couple times a month, something like that. And it's a novelty, and the neighbors all have loved it. As far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rob. Any other demonstrative comments? Anybody online? Seeing none, close the public hearing. I'll open it up for questions and comments with the commission. Anyone?
I have a question for the petitioner. Is this a sort of like a gated community where security and safety is a prime requirement of the project? Therefore, you're making their lives simpler and easier if they're traveling.
Dave Compton, sir. Thanks for the question, sir. This particular community is not gated, but at the same time, one of the important community committees, 78 clubs, there's a crime watch within that, and there's actually individual block captains. So there's one thing I failed to mention, and I apologize. One of the unique things about Del Webb is there is an on-site property manager 7 days or 5 days a week and a lifestyle director that's part of the homeowners association. So having on-site property management, we work with our residents when they're out of town, having a third party, it's not it's a third-party property manager that is there. So it's not gated, but there's on-site property management, and one of the things is crime watch. So I hope that addresses your question.
Or does I have one other question?
Yes, sir.
Your project is for people that are downsizing or don't want to have the responsibility of a large piece of property. And if that's the case, you're marketing for our region, our territory, so that if people were to move in your neighborhood, they'd have a piece of property they could sell to somebody else. So it's your marketing direction is for the community.
Yes, our marketing direction, exactly as you said. Someone who's probably still able to cut the grass, because we have a lot of active adults. We actually have hospitals aren't as important as knee replacements and hip replacements and elbows and arms, because they want to stay active. So our buyer wants to get away from, a bigger lawn and wants to have somebody else cut the grass so they could enjoy what can be called sometimes the go-go years. Being able to be very active, travel, and enjoy the community. So you are correct. They want to downsize, they could sell their bigger house to somebody else.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A couple of questions I would have for you.
Yes, sir.
As a petitioner, what's your price point for your units?
We believe that,
We can't go on price point.
Okay,
We have to basically go on the evidence that's presented. Price point has nothing to do with their petition for a zone map change.
let me ask you another question then. What, you said you have an HOA, what would be the dues?
they'll range generally from about $240 to $280 a month. That includes, we cut your grass 26, 28 times a year. We fertilize your lawn, we pull your weeds, we put down mulch, we shovel your snow. So it's basically, you're responsible for painting your hardy plank, taking care of your roof, changing your exterior light bulbs, but otherwise the HOA, and that also includes the maintenance in the clubhouse, full-time lifestyle director, kind of our on-site cruise director is the way I would describe that person, as well as on-site property management, is covered in that monthly fee.
We've heard a lot about drainage here tonight. The staff report does earmark some things about sewer sanitation stuff. Dave, can you elaborate a little bit on that? Maybe put the folks out there a little more at ease.
Yeah, I can. For as far as drainage goes, they are not allowed to discharge any drainage onto neighboring properties. That is something that will be reviewed under outside review, and city staff will review their drainage calculations. I would assume that this would actually improve the drainage in the area, since you are coming in with modern 2022 drainage and engineering to ensure that this water is not pushing any water onto the neighboring properties that it abuts. And I don't know if Mark, our city engineer, wants to elaborate, but
No, I would just add that our technical standards for our stormwater ordinance actually require them to reduce the amount of discharges. Or the rate at which it's discharged.
Any other questions or comments?
I have one question for Beam as well too. I think there was a misconception on the number of units that was discussed here in the staff report. And I think staff should clarify that.
correct, they, in their concept plan, can go up to 550 lots or dwellings. Right now, they have shown the 519. This is a range. It gives them a little bit of flexibility as we go through our process. They will have to do a plat for this. With that plat, that's where it'll be set. If they were to change the numbers of lots, they would have to come back and replat that primary plat to change the lot numbers. But right now, it does show 519, I believe, and it has a little bit of flexibility there.
I appreciate all the information you provided in your petition. Very detailed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Rex.
Any other questions, comments?
If I may comment, we did ask for the airstrip setback to be included under our miscellaneous regulations in their actual ordinance that they're proposing. It is 0.6.3. You can review at a further date, and then planning staff did provide a favorable recommendation of this project. We do see this as really a unique use for a unique set of individuals. It is not as hard on city services such as code enforcement and some of the crime in this area as well as our school districts. And I do want to point out in our staff report, we do have some criteria for you guys to consider. It is number 1 through 9 in our staff report. No, this is review considerations for them to consider as they review it. It's listed 1 through 9. Staff feels it meets these review considerations.
UB ordinance requirements in the UBO.
Correct. They're just for you to consider. And then we do have 9 commitments if you do agree with staff with our favorable recommendation. Some of these are regarding the road improvements, as well as we're asking for 35 foot of right of way on either the north or south property line. Thank you, Mark. We have also pointed out some more technical commitments in regards to sanitation to ensure that they're working with our sanitation department for all their improvements. And these will be addressed in their primary and secondary plat, as well as their master plan for the PUD.
Anything else? All right, seeing none. Statutory criteria.
Ma'am, I'm going to give you, and so everyone knows what these are, I will read it to everybody, the consideration that they will take into consideration in rendering a recommendation to the common council. The comprehensive plan, current conditions and the character of current structures and uses in each district, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted, conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction of Greenwood, responsible development and growth, and PUD specific, the extent to which the planned unit's development meets the purposes of this ordinance, the comprehensive plan, and any other adopted planning objectives of the city, the extent to which the proposed plan meets the requirements, standards, and stated purpose of the plan unit development regulation,
The extent to which the proposed plan departs from the zoning and subdivision regulations otherwise applicable to the subject property, including but not limited to the density, dimension, bulk, use required improvements, and construction and design standards, and the reasons which such departures are or are not deemed to be in public interest. Whether a proposal will not be injurious to public health, safety, and general welfare, the physical design of the planned unit development, and the extent to which it makes adequate provision for public services, provides adequate control over vehicular traffic, provides for and protects designated permanent open space, and furthers the amenities of light, air, recreation, and visual enjoyment. The relationship and compatibility of the proposed plan to the adjacent properties and neighborhood, and whether the proposed plan would substantially interfere with the use or diminish the value of adjacent properties and neighborhoods. The desirability of the proposed plan to the city's physical development, tax base, and economic well-being. The proposal will not cause undue traffic congestion and can be adequately served by existing or programmed public facilities and services. And finally, the proposal preserves significant ecological, natural, historical, and architectural resources to the extent possible.
One thing I did fail to mention, I had passed out 2 letters of demonstration. Both of the letters note both developments on the agenda tonight. So I'd like these letters to be part of our records this night.
They are, if you'd like to say who they are from, Dave, and we can enter those into the record, and they will be attached to the minutes.
We had a letter from Gary Miller, 3033 East Main Street, to the I-65 Property Owners Association. He also spoke here tonight. We also have a letter from Dale Rank, sorry, I apologize. 183 Connect Drive, Greenwood, Indiana.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion prepared.
If you are inclined to add commitments, you will have to add those.
President, I move the petition of Pulte Group for the rezoning of approximately 185.97 acres on the east side of 5 Points Road, approximately a half a mile south of County Line Road, within the city of Greenwood, Johnson County, Indiana, from AG Agricultural District use to planned unit development use, Sagebriar PUD age restricted single family subdivision, and set forth therein, receive a favorable recommendation from this commission to the Greenwood Common Council, and that the same be certified to the Greenwood Common Council in the form presented with the 9 commitments listed in the staff report.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Gardner, and second by Monica. All those in favor signify by, I'll do a roll call. Mr. Walker?
Yes.
We need to see him.
He might be fine.
There he is.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. St. John?
Aye.
Mr. Bates?
Nay.
Mr. King?
Nay.
Mr. Probst?
Aye.
Ms. Gardner?
Aye.
Monica?
Aye.
And I am a nay. Motion passes 6-3.
5-3. Mr. Show
Or
is
5-3.
absent.
I'm sorry. Correct, 5-3. Motion passes 5-3 with a favorable recommendation to the city council. That first reading will be,
Well, we did 1 reading, and it should be at the September 7th meeting because the 5th is Labor Day. So the meeting will be on Wednesday, September 7th.
and that is your public notice for that meeting, correct?
Correct.
We have another, zone map. If anyone, doesn't want to stay for that, they can leave. I'll give you a couple minutes to leave, or if you want to stay for that as well, order. We'll get started here in just a second. Business, could you close the doors back there for me, please? Thank you. All right, sorry, old business from the floor, seeing none, new business. PC 2022-066 Buckingham rezone. This is again a public hearing, 15-minute petitioner, 15 remonstrator, 5-minute rebuttal for each. Again, please use your time wisely. Be respectful of your neighbor. All those to speak for or against this need to stand and be sworn in at this time. Is there anybody online for this one? Okay, go ahead.
Do you swear under penalty of perjury the testimony you're about to give is true to the best of your knowledge?
Brian, I assume you're the guy. You know the rules.
Good evening. For the record, Eric Klein, Van Bagel Law Firm, 225 South Emerson, on behalf of the petitioner Buckingham Companies and the property owner Robeson Family LLC. We're here this evening to discuss the northwest corner of Main and 5 Points Road. It's an area of approximately 50 acres, currently zoned residential medium, RM, under your new EDO. We are only asking that approximately 30 acres of the 50 be rezoned to RMC multifamily. The remainder will remain RM and be developed as single-family homes. So let's talk a little bit about Buckingham. Buckingham is an Indiana company. They're Indiana owned. Their CEO is currently the Secretary of Commerce for the state of Indiana, Brad Chambers. He was appointed by Governor Holcomb and is in fact over in Taiwan with the governor on that delegation to build additional business ties with the state of Indiana. So this company has deep ties to the state. The picture you see before you is the Alexander Hotel downtown. Buckingham built and owns that. They also built most of the multifamily area around that. So if you've been down to that area, maybe to Taxman City Way, you've seen that area and how nice it is. That is what Buckingham does. They do mixed use, they do multifamily, they do student housing, hospitality, and commercial. An important point for the city for you to consider when you are going to allow someone to come in and develop in your community is who are they, what do they do, what do they stand for, how do they operate? Is it going to be somebody that's going to come in and build something and then flip it and leave the community? Or is it going to be somebody like Buckingham who's completely vertically integrated? What that means is they do the design, they do the land acquisition, they do the construction, they do the maintenance, and they do the leasing. They do the whole ball of wax. Their employees are on site every day to handle the on-site management and maintenance of their properties, and they maintain ownership of those properties. So it's a partner that you as city officials can get behind and have confidence in that the properties are not going to deteriorate. They're not going to be left to somebody else's, some third-party management company's devices. They take pride in ownership. They work primarily, they started here in Indiana, but as you can see from the map on the right, they are now in various areas across the country and expanding their footprint. But where they really want to concentrate for tonight is the parcel you see outlined in light blue. It's on the north side of Main Street and just west of 5 Points Road on that corner. And as I said, it will not be the entire site, it will be 30 acres that we're seeking to have rezoned multifamily. Here's a little bit more of a close-up view of the property. And this is going to be the site plan for phase 1. Now, you may have read in the paper that there are going to be 500 some odd multifamily units. That could be true. But in phase 1, there will be 176 one-bedroom units, 165 two-bedroom units, and 33 three-bedroom units for a total of 374 in this first phase. Construction is, if approved, would be, they would start moving dirt in July of 2023. They plan to have 2 buildings complete along with the amenity clubhouse and pool by January of 2025. And the entire 374 units would not be online any sooner than February of 2026. So this is going to be a slowly phased in development. It's not going to, contrary to what you may have read in the paper, it's not going to dump thousands of cars out on the roads immediately. It's going to be phased in. There is a phase 2 planned. It's on being fully transparent. If phase 1 is well received, then we will move on to a phase 2 to the north, and that's 96 one bedrooms, 92 bedrooms, 18 three bedrooms for an additional total of 204. And that's where you get into that 500 unit number. But that second phase is not going to happen until probably at the earliest 2028 for even site work to be done. The buildings would be in place in 2029 and 2030. So we're way out into the future here. And all of phase 2 is dependent upon how well received phase 1 is. Now, we're very bullish on this site. We're very bullish on Greenwood. The Verge has kind of set the standard for market rate higher end apartments, and they built out right away. And Garrett Companies is building another set of units on Emerson. So there is a demand for that type of housing in Greenwood, and it has been underserved. There was a long period of time when no multifamily projects were coming online. In fact, the Verge kind of broke the mold a little bit on a long price belt. And we believe Buckingham is going to fit right in to that same kind of category. Here are some photos of some elevations of what the apartments look like. They will wholly and completely comply with the city's architectural standards. They will not be asking for any waivers or variances from the architectural standards. So no vinyl. It will be all really well done, well landscaped, and beautiful architecture in their facility. If there are concerns about traffic, we had a brand new, fresh, hot off the press traffic study done by Kinley Horn. The impact study recommended site entrance improvements to the facility, and it recommended traffic signal timing changes at Main and Graham and at Main and the I-65 on-ramp to help the flow of traffic down Main Street. Now, importantly, the traffic study also noted that where this parcel sits, folks from this development can go north on 5 Points to County Line Road. County Line Road tees into 5 Points, just a little bit north of this facility. They also can go west on Main Street and up Graham to the stoplight at County Line and Graham. So they're not all of the traffic is going to just hit westbound Main Street to hit the highway or to go into Greenwood. So they have multiple options that will assist. And in fact, that's part of why the traffic study did not recommend any major intersectional changes or major road changes at all, other than making sure that they had ACEL, decel lanes and the proper entry ways. The city in the staff report has recommended that, or required that Buckingham redo 5 Points and Main Street along their frontages, basically a complete rebuild of those roads. It's a tough pill to swallow. That's $2.5 million of value add to the city to bring in this project. And again, not something that my clients had anticipated, but they are not resisting that right now. And they're willing to at least continue talks with the city on how that will work out in terms of what improvements will be done. But that's being requested by the city as we speak. The staff does have a complete copy of that traffic study. Statutory criteria. Run through these real quick. The request complies with the comprehensive plan in the fact that the comp plan calls for this area to be mixed use. There are multifamily developments further west, and then you get some single family. What we would have is single family next to the single family, and then multifamily on the east side of the property, as you saw from the schematics. The request applies to current conditions and character and current structures in the area, in that it is a continuation of a mixed use of single family homes and multifamily homes which are in the area. The request is the most desirable use for the land because Greenwood needs more market rate apartments and additional single family homes as well. This brings both of those to bear. Number 6, the request will not negatively affect property values because you're getting uses that are the same as what we have already in the area. It is all residential. There's no industrial or retail component to it. And the request is considered responsible development and growth because this area was earmarked for mixed use development, and there is a current need in Greenwood for this type of development. So that is all I have. And if you have questions for me later, I'll be happy to answer them.
Anybody else to speak for this? Seeing none, we'll move to the demonstrators.
I'm back. Unlike the first project in which we.
Sorry, Mr. Miller, just for the record, we still need
Oh,
your
I'm
name and
sorry.
address again.
Gary Miller, 3033 East Main Street, Greenwood.
Thank
Again, representing the East 65 Property Owners Association. Unlike the first project where we suggested changes, this one we oppose outright. We think this is a terrible idea. This is single family land. It's been zoned single family for the last at least 20 years. The petitioner says that the proposed zoning complies with the Greenwood Master Plan. It does not. The area designated as mixed use in the master plan is actually referred to as mixed use master plan communities. There's thousands of acres in this master plan that enjoy this same designation. It was designed for large parcels of land, mixed use master plan communities, which meant single family, multifamily, even commercial. This 30-acre parcel is not a master plan community and therefore does not qualify for the mixed use. It should be governed by the present zoning, which is single family residential medium. If you allow this 30-acre parcel to be zoned multifamily, the other thousands of acres out there could be zoned exactly the same way. What happens when the guy north with 30 acres asks for apartments, or west asks for apartments? Thousands of acres out there have this same designation. If you allow this zoning with this density, you'll have over 100,000 apartments on the east side. Back in 2007, when this parcel was zoned single-family residential, there was a purpose. Commercial usage was proposed west of Graham Road, and it's so developed. Then going east, apartments were proposed and zoned east of the commercial, and it was so developed. Summit Point, Trotter's Point apartments were built. Then doubles were proposed, and that was also zoned. And they were so developed in the Rockland Ridge addition. The western half of the Rockland Ridge addition has the apartments. The eastern half, however, was zoned single-family residential. And it has so developed with very nice single-family homes. This 50-acre parcel was also designated single-family residential, and it should so remain. We should not leapfrog apartments by a half a mile and put them down in the middle of single-family residence. This property is on the west is bordered by single family, on the south by single family, and cornfields on the north and the east. We're concerned as to how those would be developed. Yes, it will reduce the value of the adjoining real estate. People should be allowed to rely on the city's zoning decisions, which, as I say, for over 20 years have designated this parcel as residential medium. Why would we change it? Can we not rely on the city zoning? Should it not stay in place unless there is a compelling reason to change it? And there is no compelling reason here other than merely the desire of a developer to bring high density use to a single family rural area. Traffic, well, 500 and some apartments are going to bring you 1,000 cars. If you've gone west on Main Street at mid-afternoon, you know that another 1,000 cars are not needed. This is inappropriate. We ask that you issue an unfavorable recommendation. Thank you.
Well, just like we got one coming up. You got the floor next.
John Peterson, 3195 Rock Lane Road. Gary pretty much said it all. However, I wanted to bring up to the committee that when these properties were zoned before, both the planners and the common council promised the residents here that this would remain single-family housing. They even explained at the meeting, I mean, you can look back in the minutes, that warehouse and businesses would be near the interstate, followed by apartments and doubles, and then single family. And I agree with Gary, there's no reason to change it. There's single family houses all around the property. There's no reason to change to apartments. So I would appreciate it if you would deny this, the petitioner's proposal.
I didn't come here planning to do.
Name and address first, please.
Lowell Penny, 115 East Winsheim Circle,
Thank
in
you.
the Commons at University Park.
Thank you.
And I didn't come here planning to do this, but finding out who's involved and who's planning the developments. My background, I was a real estate broker in Indianapolis for 25 years, a director of my board of realtors. I was in the property management business. I operated, managed other people's real estate investment areas, apartment properties, condominiums, those kinds of single family properties. I knew the Buckingham Company when they came to town. I met them, and I'm here to tell everybody here that Buckingham is a very good class act. They would be a good addition to this area. They do a good job, and I would like to see them, if apartments are going to come in, Huntington would be a good choice to do it. However, I have one major problem with this area, and that's the Greenwood infrastructure. Main Street is not ready for apartments out there. There is way too much traffic. When I'm coming home, getting up, going east of the interstate, I have words that I can't say here. Every time I get near the striping coming, because of that property that juts out in the road there, it keeps going. I keep asking, when's that gonna go? And I want you folks to address the infrastructure first before you consider apartments out there on Main Street.
Dale Rank, 183 Kenny Drive. Going to jump in here a little bit. Basically, the comments made about the traffic issues are 100% dead on. If they get away with not putting left turn lanes on Main Street, you will have traffic backed up to I-65. That's simple. My background, I grew up in Indianapolis. I spent most of my time in Rochester, New York, doing various kinds of engineering and construction projects. I spent 4 years active duty in the Army Corps of Engineers. The main issue that I have beyond the traffic is this tree line that runs on the boundary here between the Rockland estates of Rockland and the new one. Rockport was allowed to do a really crappy job with the drainage in that area. As an example, the rain that we had 2 weeks ago, Monday night, Tuesday night, I had water flowing through my backyard until Wednesday morning, and that area had standing water in it until Wednesday afternoon. And that's true of about a dozen houses that run along that property line. If you put in another area with highly impermeable surfaces, I'm afraid the runoff rate is going to jump enormously and cause some pretty severe flooding in that area, including my basement. Now, I complained to Westport about it. They didn't do anything about it. The issues there is I don't see how the water really gets out of that area at a sufficient rate to get to Hurricane Creek, which I think is the main area that it drains to. It looks like it pretty much stops north of Main Street with a few underground culverts from there. I would question whether those culverts could handle the additional rain runoff rate unless there's a study that's been shown otherwise. The other factor is there's a very well-developed tree line with a lot of very large and mature trees of all species along that tree line. I would hate to see anything happen to that. And if the town ordinance required me to put a shade tree in my front yard, there ought to be something there to protect those mature trees. Now, granted, it could be improved with some brush and deadfall clearing out. But to maintain that area would be to the benefit of not only erosion and flooding control there, but just the aesthetics of the area. And I would presume that if they have lots they would like to sell there, that would be a selling point for those lots. So I'd like to see that tree line protected in any agreement made with the developer. My comments were in a letter that was mentioned earlier. And that's all I have to say.
Anyone else?
Michael Myers, 756 North Five Points Road. I'd like to say, with all these apartments, the burden you put on our police department, the sheriff's department, and the state police. Not only a burden on the fire department, because there's extra work. So that's all tax dollars that comes out of everybody's pocket. So you're gonna have an increased force, and increased fire department. So keep that in mind.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll move to the rebuttal. Mr. Price?
All right, thank you again for the record, Eric Brian Van Baylor on behalf of the petitioner. I'm going to touch on a couple things real quick, and then I'll have our traffic and site engineer speak to the drainage and the traffic concerns. Mr. Miller, the first speaker, was talking about how this was zoned 20 years ago for some purpose. The UDO is pretty new. It was adopted at 19 or 20, right before COVID.
October 2020.
Yeah, 2020. So it's new, and it's a living document, right? The zoning is a template. It's out there to try to give some idea of what things are supposed to look like, how it's supposed to work. But the reason you have a BZA, the reason you have the ability to try to change the zoning ordinance through the Planning Commission and the City Council is because things change and needs change and the market changes. And this is responding to the market. Greenwood has a very, very high demand for this type of rental unit for folks who can't afford single family homes, or maybe are in a living situation where they don't want a single family home. So the zoning is a living document. It's there to change if the change makes sense. And as long as we comply with the statutory criteria, which we showed that we did, that's what it's for. Very quickly, infrastructure. This area is going to be expanded into the TIF district. TIF dollars are used for that purpose to help with infrastructure. The more development that there is, the more TIF money there is to pay for infrastructure. That's how cities afford growth and continued movement. I think at this point, that was most of the original stuff. So there were some concerns about traffic and turning lanes and drainage. So I'll let.
Good evening. My name is Alan Fetterhage, civil engineer, chemical, 250 East 96th Street, Indianapolis. I can first address drainage. This development will be designed to meet City of Greenwood, the Johnson County drainage requirements. So, probably like Director of Planning mentioned before, that definitely should be less water released off the site that's going there right now, because we have to provide stormwater detention ponds that need to meet city's drainage standards and criteria, and it's going to be metered and the low flow rate that's going there right now. Generally speaking, site drains from the west to the east and going to the east over 5 Points Road to the legal drain. I think legal drain starts on the east side of 5 Points Road. So again, drains will be will meet the city's drainage criteria, and also, as far as I know, there's an outside consultant that will review the drainage in addition to city staff. So it'll be like dual. So I'm confident that's going to be designed to alleviate any drainage concerns and actually to reduce the discharge rate from the site together right now. Traffic-wise, we did the traffic counts, we did traffic study. We had the initial meeting with the city engineer and to define the criteria of the traffic study to go all the way to I-65 and County Line Road. And study was prepared and was sent to the city engineer this week. We look at first phase horizon by 2028, what needs to be done. At the moment, there's already some existing issues that passed the I-65 north ramp, south ramp that the city, I believe, is being coordinated even without doing it, this development recommendation was to also intersection of 5 Points Road to County Line Road to be changed to always stop control. Regarding 228, build out the first phase, we don't anticipate any significant impact to the roadway that we have right now. If these optimizing traffic signals at the Graham Road intersection, Main Street, and also Main Street and I-65 northbound ramp. That will be the main concern to optimize the traffic signal timing. We are proposing 4 access points, 2 of Main Street and 2 of 5 Points Road. All these access drives to be designed for the city's requirements for the sell diesel lanes. So that's at the moment what I have. I don't know if you have any other questions, but it's just overall review of our topics at range.
Just two quick points. There was concern about increased fire and police activity here. Number one, the higher rent rates have a direct correlation with how many police and fire runs are, certainly the police runs. And Buckingham has a very stringent background check that it runs on all of its potential applicants. So they really do vet the folks that are going to be living there. With regard to the tree line, Buckingham wants to maintain that tree line. It's there, it's natural, it's less buffering and burning that they have to pay for. So they absolutely want to maintain as much of that existing tree line on the west side as they can.
5-minute rebuttal for the petition, I'm sorry, for the remonstrators. Anybody want to add anything? Were you sworn in before?
Yes.
Okay.
Jeff Henniger, I live at 107 Kennick Drive. And it's kind of funny that they keep bringing up the traffic study, so they must be aware of the poor infrastructure that we have right now. They're talking about the first set of the units. Well, if they're successful with the first set, they're gonna build the second set. And we are talking about over 1,000 cars. And again, if anybody has sat there at Graham Road and Main Street, you know exactly what we're talking about right now without an additional 1,000 cars. The infrastructure we have right now definitely would not support what they're wanting to do. And I agree everything with Gary Miller, what he said. And I just don't think at this particular time, if you improve the infrastructure first, then we can talk about changing the zoning laws. But I think you're getting the cart before the horse right now. And thanks.
John Peterson, 3195 Rock Lane Road. I just wanted to bring up one more time that this proposal, these proposed apartments, which they did send out information that said there would be 578, there would be over 1,000 parking spaces. So phase 1, phase 2 is all going to happen. This is right in the middle of a residential area, and it was zoned residential. There's single family houses all over the place, and most of those houses are large with a lot of acreage. And as I said, the council and the planning commission promised the residents that it would be a progression of zoning and not leapfrog and put apartments right into the middle of commercial property. I mean, I know what happens when the elderly pass away, and we're working on our trust too, but you know, I worked with Bob Robinson at Lilly, and he wanted that property zoned residential, and that's what it was done. I hope that you will keep it that way. Thank you very much.
Bill Rank, 183 Kenny Drive. I guess I do have one more thing to say. I'm sure Westport passed the requirements of Greenwood's city planning around drainage in that area. So meeting Greenwood's requirements doesn't mean squat.
All right, anyone else? All right, with that, we'll close the public record or public hearing. Any questions or comments by the commission?
Does the city have any plans to make any improvements for these traffic issues that are coming for us? Meaning like lane widening or XL lanes, decel lanes, or is there? anything else?
So one of the commitments presented tonight in the staff report, as conditions of approval is improvements of Main Street, Five Points Road across the entire property frontage. That would include completely rebuilding the road to two 12-foot lanes as well as a paved shoulder. So the road will be improved from that sort of county road existing section that's out there. In addition, they will be required to construct each of their entrances to meet our minimum standards. That has decel lanes and a right turn lane, as well as a pass blister for left turning vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
Dan, could you also address the drainage? I see commitments in here.
Yeah, so the drainage on this site, again, the Greenwood Stormwater Technical Standards Manual requires them to reduce the rate at which discharge is currently occurring. So overall, they should be improving drainage off of this site by meeting our standards. They should be discharging at a slower rate. They're also required to convey off-site stormwater. So if there is stormwater leaving the development to the west of them, they would have to continue to convey it. They could just dam it off and block it off, if that makes sense.
Any other questions, comments?
I do have the same comment I had for the previous petition. We do have 2 letters of demonstration that were passed out ahead of time. Both spoke tonight. I'll read those out. Bill Fink at 163 Connect Drive, Greenwood.
183.
Or 183, thank you. And then I do have Gary Miller, 3033 East Main Street, representing the East I-65 Property Owners Association. I do want to just back off of what Mark said. We do have proposed conditions for infrastructure. Those are required to be on their plans before any land alteration permit is issued. We would need to know that those conditions are being addressed. So the improvements would come with the development of the site. There would not be an increase in apartments before the roads were improved. With that, this is a mixed-use area in our comprehensive plan. They do have a split development, with some of it remaining residential medium zoning, and that is abutting other residential medium zoning. And then their community would transition, or their management would transition into the RMC zone. So they are kind of providing a mix of uses here that are both residential. Staff was not necessarily favorable or unfavorable of this petition. We do realize that it would bring a lot of more cars and traffic to this area, yet we don't think it is necessarily a bad use of land for residential use here. I've also personally been to Indianapolis to tour their Alexandra apartments. It is a nice area, and they do have a good quality there that I was able to see just as a planner. So, thank you.
Just to make sure that we're all clear, on the staff report, there's 9 commitments / recommendations, or recommendations / amendments with that all have subtitles. Is that correct?
Correct. There are 9 total. Within those 9, we do have tables and subheadings as well.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? For criteria?
Your recommendation to the common council, please pay reasonable regard to the following. 1, the comprehensive plan. 2, current conditions and the character of current structures and uses in each district. 3, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. 4, conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction of Greenwood. And 5, responsible development and growth.
All right, with that, there's been a motion prepared.
Mr. President, I move that the petition for a zone map change to rezone approximately 30 acres of land located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Main Street and 5 Points Road within the city of Greenwood, Johnson County, Indiana, from RM residential medium lot zone use to RMC residential multi-unit complex zone use, as set forth therein, receive an unfavorable recommendation from this commission to the Greenwood Common Council, and that the same be certified to the Greenwood Common Council in the form presented with the 9 commitments and amendments listed in the staff recommendations. Is that right?
Second.
Motion by Mr. King and second by Mr. Bates.
Kind of question, is it for favorable, unfavorable?
Unfavorable, I'm sorry.
Okay,
So you vote, if I
Well,
vote yes, I'm voting for that.
that's what I was just going to explain. This is an unfavorable recommendation. A yes vote is for an unfavorable recommendation. Okay, a no vote is obviously against the unfavorable. Everybody clear on that? Okay, with that, I'll take roll. We got to see Mr. Walker.
It will go to James and Males and then many talents.
I didn't think that many people would work this hard to see me.
There he is.
There he was.
Oh, now it's not.
There he is. Okay. Did you hear the motion?
Yeah, I vote yes to support the motion made on 4.
Okay. Mr. St. John?
No.
No. Mr. Bates?
Yes. Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Probst?
No.
Ms. Gardner?
Aye.
Monica?
Aye.
And I'm a nay vote as well. So we've got, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I'm a yes vote.
So you vote unfavorable. So
I
you
vote
are-
unfavorable. I got it.
So double negatives for-
So it's a 6-2 for an unfavorable recommendation to the council. If you sit tight just for a minute, we've got a few things and then we'll adjourn. New business from the floor. Seeing none. Announcements?
No announcements.
For the next meeting?
We do have an agenda for the next.
Okay, all right. All right. Any other questions, comments, announcements? Seeing none? Meeting adjourned.